Hey guys, Joe here with another late night session. Um, I wanted to talk about um I wanted to ask another question. Um, how do you fix a city? Like what like where do you go to do that? And I'm not talking about like, oh, I want to enter politics or anything like that. I think because I think that would just be bad. Like, I know nothing about politics. I generally try to avoid it as much as possible. Um, in everyday life and on just because it it sounds like a bad idea all the way around. I mean, I'm sure of course there's a good side to everything, but when all it does is, it's funny when people talk about how the stuff that divides people is like, it's like, listen, you want to talk about all the like racist and when, let's be honest, like some of them aren't. Some of them have ideas that go against what you believe, and you might you might mark that person as X, something negative. And it's like, do you genuinely believe that that's the case? Like, in your heart of hearts, do you genuinely believe that they're, homophobic or racist or xenophobic or whatever ist or whatever phobic that they might be, that you might consider them to be? In their heart of hearts is like, so what? They're never allowed to differ with you, and that, like, they're never allowed to, you know, um, what is it? Is it that because somebody in your family is that, or you're that yourself, and you think that that destroys who you are as a person? It's like, no, but that's a whole nother thing. I feel like I want to fix a city. I want to fix my city. That's what this whole YouTube channel is about. And honestly, I hope that I could gain the funds from this YouTube channel to, one, to make it better, two, to start a business, and then put that business in the area and do some things for the people to where it's like, yo, like, we're making the area better as a group of people, as a people inside the community. And I want that. I want to do that. That's the whole thing. That's the whole gambit. That's the end game for me. I mean, what I do along the way is like, I want to help people. I want to, you know, like, but where do you go to do that? Like, nonprofit isn't enough. Like, in my city, like, you deal with it, like, resource problems, like I mean, like, I live in I live in a pretty good area. Okay, and that's just one area, but I'm talking about the city as a whole. Like, there are good parts in the city, and they don't really need too much. But then there are people. I volunteered at schools as part of service learning before, and it's like, those kids, they all have stories. They all had you know their parents or their guardians, and that could be their grandparents. Maybe their parents weren't around. Maybe their parents were in jail or something. I'm not saying that I've heard these stories, but but the inference is that some of them did live with their grandparents, um but it's like, well, where are their parents? Is like, maybe they're in jail, maybe they're dead. I'm not saying that they told me this. I'm speculating. And then it's like, well, when you see the area, it's like, and then you get into the point, it's like, well, when they're trying to survive and they resort towards, some type of criminal activity, it's like, it's a hard thing to discuss because it's hard to get in the thick of it, right? It's a cyclical thing. It's like, okay, well, be an upstanding citizen, pay your taxes. Yeah, but when the job is not providing enough and you're trying to put food on the table for your kids and yourself so that you can keep going, and have a good life so that you'll have maybe a little bit enough for yourself to where you can keep going just a little bit longer so that you can, so you can survive another day at work, just so you can earn an extra $1 or $2 per hour, just so you can finally get that one bottle of like milk for your kid. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but you get what I'm saying. The idea that you're scraping dollars for something so menial, and people are just trying to survive. And then it's like, well, no wonder why, no wonder why it's like people resort to stealing and criminal activities, because, crime has always been associated with the socioeconomic, opportunity and development, or the lack thereof. You can always say, oh, well, then just move somebody else. It's like, where are you going to move to? With what money? It's like, if they were always scraping the bottom of the barrel here, then with what money you think they're going to move with and to and with whom? It's like, of course sometimes people need help. Now, that's not to say just give everything to them either. But there's got to be a way for people who are outside that situation to come inside a particular area and help. Here's the problem. People who are in that position to where they can make some such choices, it doesn't make any business sense for them. It's like, literally, it's not that they don't have it on heart. It's just like, that doesn't make any business sense for them. If you entered into it as a business, you got to treat it like a business. And that means you don't put stuff in certain areas. Like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? The problem is that you can't have a multi-billion dollar corporation put their place in sort of a downtrodden neighborhood where it's like, to where it's like, well, they're willing to spend the money on it, but they got to worry about their employees, with backgrounds who did their dirt just to survive. And then you're always going to deal with those people who stay in that mindset. Is like, yo, they see an opportunity here. This won't last long. I'm here to make a quick buck. And they might steal from that corporation. They might just do it. It's hard. It's hard to make that decision. And it's like, they're not being heartless. It's just like the people who is making that decision that says, okay, let's decide to move X corporation into this area. It's not that they're being heartless, is that they got to think about all that stuff. And then they end up messing up that opportunity for the rest of the people. And so then they move out or they go out of business because they deal with, so much crap that it's like, well, I lost more in putting it here because something keeps constantly getting done. Some thefts keep constantly happening. Maybe there's a case of arson, or something. but they end up messing up for the rest of the people who treat it as a genuine opportunity. And it's hard as a corporation owner or as a business owner to make that decision. So, which brings me to how do you fix the city? Because also the money that's going into that is, most of the money that's going into stuff like that are, the people who work there. Maybe they don't have an education because they need the money like now. They need that money like now, like yesterday. Like they need to put food on their table, and it might not be enough, so they'll settle for that. And maybe they won't try to get better. Maybe they won't go back to school. Maybe they won't, so then the area never increases. And so that sets an example for their children. Is like, yo, I can just work at this place. And then they depend on that corporation being in that area forever. That's what you had with GM, with all those plants shutting down. It's like there's people who been there for 20 years, and because they were making the same amount of money as a college degreed person, why would they ever go to college if that was the incentive? It doesn't make any sense to. So how do you fix the city? And then it's like, yo, you need money to go to the school so they can get updated resources, at least to the point to where, kids are being fed at the school. Because sometimes kids go to those schools and that's where they get their only meal from. Sometimes it still happens in even the more affluent neighborhoods. It happens. So how do you fix a city? How do you fix the future? How do you do that? How do you do that and minimize the damage that's to come? Like, okay, you're going to get your straggler, so there's no way you're going to beat that. You're going to get your theft. You're going to get, you might get a lot of political red tape. Yeah, you might get, these people who are going behind your back to do stuff. My mom was just telling me like a week or so ago about this story that happened, I don't know when, maybe a decade or two ago, about some town in, like, I almost want to say Minnesota or something like that. I don't know where it was, but how, like, the town was doing really well with like black people, and they started their own businesses and stuff like that, and they turned that city around. And that, because there were racist people, they started some junk, and there was a whole bunch of lies, and the press, with the police department, and they swept it all under the rug. I don't remember what the story was or what it was called and where it took place, but that's what I heard. I'm like, yo, in this day and age, it's like, yo, covering that stuff up, it's like where you really don't care about the people. And you have that local municipality or the state government to sweep it up. It's like when they just hate that group of people, it's like, yo, so then what? You just don't let it get better? You just, like, I don't know. How do you fix a city? How do you fix a city? Anyway, guys, that's all I had for today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. If you like what I'm talking about, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. That'll help me out immensely. And hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date on all the things that we're talking about on this channel. And provide some comments down below so we can get some new topics going. Sometimes I'm slow to think about new topics, and I just talk about them as I think about them. I'm really kind of off the top of the head like that. So, thank you guys again so much for watching and listening to this, and I will see you guys later.